Alright, today in this video I'm going to be explaining the basics of QoS and how the IP Ecn bits are used in the toss byte in the IP header. I'm CCNP Seth, let's get into it. Now when it comes to quality of service, you have the toss byte or the DSCP bits that you can use in the IP header, and we can mark them to identify traffic in terms of congestion or in times of congestion. We could prioritize our traffic and to send our high priority traffic first rather than our routine traffic. So right here we have our CS bits. They're called class selector bits. We have 3 bits that we can use, and then they can make a value between 0 and 7. And in the classes 1 through 4, we could actually use these assured forwarding bits, which are used to categorize our classes into subclasses now, but they could only be used for classes 1 through 4. Okay. Now in the last 2 bits of this toss byte, we have the ECN bits, which stands for explicit congestion notification bits, and the very left bit, it's called the ECT bit, which is the ECN capable transport, and then this right bit is considered the CE bit, which is congestion experience. And together, these 8 bits, they make the toss byte in the IP header. Now, when I get into ECN bits, this is used for reliable transport protocols, as in TCP. So it allows for end-to-end notification of network congestion without dropping packets. So if hosts are capable of ECN and the network or the router is ECN capable, then we can use these bits to mark it saying, hey, you've experienced congestion. I will let you through, but you need, for the rest of your flow, you need to tone it down. You need to stop sending as much. Okay, so ECN is an optional feature that may be used between 2 ECN-enabled endpoints, also when the network supports it, and it requires at both the internet and the transport layers. Okay, now when we have these bits, since there's 2 bits, we could have 4 combinations. We could have 00, 01, 10, and then 11. If the ECN bits are set to 00, okay, remember the toss byte right here? If these bits are set to 00, then that means that the endpoints do not support ECN. So the endpoints are the ones who actually mark that. If we have a 1 in there on either side, like 01 or 10, that means the endpoints are ECN capable. So if there is congestion, then they can understand what that means. And of course the endpoints will mark this as well. Then when we actually experience congestion, the routing device who notices that there's congestion will mark it 11 and then send it on its way. When it gets to the host, I'll explain what happens at the host level when they receive this CE bit set. Okay. Now, on the interface queue, so how packets are treated when ECN is enabled. Now on the interface queue, if the number of packets is below a minimum threshold, meaning if I have, I don't know, let's say my minimum threshold is 10. If I have more than 10 packets in the queue, then that's above my minimum threshold, because that's what I set it at, then I'm going to do something. But if I have 9 packets in my queue and my minimum threshold is 10, I'm not experiencing congestion, so I will transmit all those packets. However, if I have packets at my 10 or above, but below my maximum, and this is what this bullet is talking about right here, the number of packets is above the minimum threshold, but below the maximum, then there are 3 scenarios that can happen. Okay, so if my minimum threshold is 10, my maximum threshold is 50, and I have 25 packets in the queue, I am reaching this second bullet here. Now, in the toss byte, if the endpoints are ECN capable, so in the toss byte, the very last 2 bits, it'll either be 01 or 10, then WRED, or weighted random early detection, it will determine if this specific packet should be dropped. If this packet that is ECN enabled should be dropped, that was determined by WRED, instead of actually dropping it, the router will mark the packets with the 1-1, which is the congestion experience. It'll mark it and then it will transmit it. Okay. Now, if the toss byte, the ECN bits are 00 and WRED determines that it should be dropped, then it'll be dropped. If this packet is received and it still reaches this second bullet and the ECN field is set to 1-1, that means that it experienced congestion downstream and it should be forwarded. So when a router receives the ECN field set to 1-1, it'll transmit it and doesn't do anything else. No further marking is required. Then, if the interface queue has packets that is above the maximum threshold, then it will drop it based on the WRED drop probability. Okay? Now, what happens when the host actually receives these ECN bits, the congestion experience bits turned on? So TCP supports ECN using 3 flags in the TCP header. So this is how the two endpoints will communicate, hey, congestion has been experienced. We should tone down our window here. Let's stop sending as many packets. So again, this field is optional in TCP because both endpoints don't have to have this. But during the 3-way handshake for TCP, once they start their initial session, this is where they are negotiating, are you ECN capable? So there's 3 flags. You have the announce flag, the NS flag. You have the ECE flag, which is the ECN echo, and then you have the CWR flag. We'll mainly focus on the flags 2 and 3. But when a host, when it receives an IP packet with the CE code point, meaning the 1-1, the TCP receiver echoes back this congestion indicated using the ECE flag. So the receiver of this packet sees that CE is turned on. When he sends an acknowledgement back to the sender saying, hey, I received those packets, also we experienced congestion, I'm going to put the ECE flag, meaning, hey, there's been congestion, I'm going to send you an echo. Then when the receiver receives the packet with the ECE flag set, it's going to reduce its congestion window and then acknowledges the congestion with the CWR flag. Okay, CWR flag, congestion window reduced. So that's what happens between the two endpoints, and this is how the router in the middle says, hey, I'm experiencing some congestion. I'm going to let you through, but I need you to tone down how many packets you're sending. And the endpoints acknowledge it, and then now we're good to go. A node will keep transmitting TCP segments with the ECE bit until it receives that CWR acknowledgement bit. All right, so that should be a very quick transaction, but it'll do it until it receives that acknowledgement. Now, some benefits of using WRED and the ECN. Well, it has improved method of congestion avoidance. So rather than dropping packets, like I mentioned before, I'll mark it and then have the hosts stop sending as much traffic. Marking the packets for transmission later accommodates applications that are sensitive to delay or packet loss and provides improved throughput and application performance such as UDP. So can this be used with UDP? Yes, but the transport protocol UDP won't be toning down the amount of packets being sent. It has to do it at the application layer. So WRED at the layer 3 is capable of notifying the application to tone down how many packets you're going to be sending. And then you also have enhanced queue management. So ECN capable routers and endpoints can respond to congestion before a queue overflows and packets are dropped, providing enhanced queue management. So that's good. Now that's the end of this. I hope this gave you a better understanding of how the ECN bits work and what the hosts do with it when they receive these ECN bits. So until then, I hope this was informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.